This is the Louie T Network.
Draft Zone. Draft Zone.
Welcome, you are in the
Draft
lab room. I'm your host,
Zone.
Lou. Thank you for joining me here on this program, 2014 NFL Draft Wrap-Up Series. The Who's Next format is in full effect. Be the first to leave a comment at the bottom of this and future videos stating two things: next, and the team you'd like to see next. So the phrase next, the team you'd like to see next, and of course, you gotta be first. You got all three of those components, that team will be featured up next on the 2014 NFL Draft Wrap-Up Series. How do we get grades for these teams, these players, and so forth and so forth? Easy. We use our baseball grading scale here in the lab room, in the draft zone. Single, double, triple, home run. There are no strikeouts, as we cannot tell how these players will pan out. Don't want to count anybody out. Do not want to discount any of these draftees. We apply bonuses when necessary. Tally up the scores of each and every single individual player. Get a score as an aggregate for the team. Give them a grade and move on to the next team that you, the viewer, select on this very program. So, sound easy? That's because it is. So, today we're talking Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And they've done a lot in this offseason to make themselves a contender in the NFC South Division. And they were probably the most active team in this offseason. New general manager, new head coach, new starting quarterback, new everything, new offensive line, new receiving core, you name it, it's brand spanking new in Tampa Bay, except for that defense that's starting to gel together. So there's a lot to be excited about in Tampa Bay. And this draft, to me, they were playing with house money because they had been so active in free agency and put some really good pieces together of the puzzle in free agency, along with the addition of head coach Lovie Smith. I felt like this draft was house money for them. You rid yourself of Josh Freeman last year. You rid yourself of Mike Williams in this offseason. You get rid of some of that dead weight, and you start to feel like they're making the right moves in Tampa Bay. So I felt like all you had to do in this draft was just make sure you added guys that could help you either right now or down the line. Make sure you draft guys that can make your roster is basically what I'm saying to you. Is make sure that these guys, even if they can't help right away, you see enough potential in them that maybe down the road they can be an asset to you down the road as a good football player. And that's all I was looking for from the Buccaneers in this draft, because again, I feel like without this draft, I thought they were a team that could contend in this division already. Now, maybe they needed that first round pick, and we'll talk about that in a second. But after that, I felt like they had enough pieces to go and compete right away. And so let's talk about the 2014 NFL Draft of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I've got my handy dandy pointer. I've got the big board behind me. What else do I need? Nada. Let's get to the board and get started. Tampa Bay Buccaneers 2014 NFL Draft. This is my type of draft. Look, if you've been watching, then you know this is my type of draft. 6 picks, straight to the point. Not a lot of wasted motion, not a lot of wasted selections. 6 guys that are going to make my roster that I like. This looks a lot like my shopping list right here. When I go to the grocery store, there's about 6 or 7 items on it. You know, milk, cheese, butter, some juice, eggs. Guess what? I'm not a female, I'm a male. So if I make a list of 6 items, you betcha I'm going in the store and I'm coming out with 6 items. 2 bags. I'm in, I'm out, I'm done with my shopping, I'm back at my house. That's what I like. Don't give me the 12 or 13 pick draft with 5 guys that aren't going to make my roster or 4 guys that I'm going to try to stash away on the practice squad. Look, I didn't go in the store for cookies. I didn't go in the store for Jell-O. I didn't go in the store for bacon. I didn't go in the store for cereal. I went in the store for specific items. I'm coming out with those items and I'm going home. Hence, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers made their list. They checked it twice. They got their items. They got out of the draft. That's the way I like to do it. Now look, to each its own. I'm not saying. I'm just saying. So, first round, 7th overall selection, wide receiver out of Texas A&M, Mike Evans is the selection. This was one of those picks that they needed. The rest of this draft, to me, extra stuff. Just, you know, the type of stuff that makes you a better football team, but you didn't have to have it. You just got it anyway. And this was the one you had to have, though. You got rid of Mike Williams right before the draft, literally a week before the draft. And that gave everyone every indication of what your first round pick was going to be, because up until that point, I'm not going to lie to you, to be frank, I had no idea what you were going to do with that 7th overall selection before the Mike Williams trade. I thought there was a possibility that you would still go out and get a guy like Mike Evans, but it wasn't clear. It wasn't crystal clear. You hadn't really given anyone any indication of as to what you were going to do up until that point. But once you pulled the trigger on that deal, sending Mike Williams to Buffalo, everyone knew what the pick was going to be. If he was there, Mike Evans was there. We knew he was out training in San Diego with Vincent Jackson, and so it just made too much sense. He's a Vincent Jackson clone, and so let's talk about Mike Evans and what he brings to the table and what his addition to this team will mean. 6'5", about 230 pounds. At the combine, I think he might have been single-handedly the most impressive receiver. And that includes Sammy Watkins at the combine. I think I expected him to run a lot slower than what he did. He came out, ran a sub 4.6 40, and I thought he looked fluid as an athlete. A lot more fluid than I thought he was going to be. I mean, the fluidity was so easy. He made it look effortless. He snatched the ball out of the air. I don't think he dropped anything the whole entire day. He was just so silky smooth at the combine. I came away so impressed. And I said, I got to go back. And I had watched him because of Johnny Manziel. I had watched a lot of Texas A&M football throughout the college football year. So I already knew who Mike Evans was and what he was bringing to the table. However, I said, I need to take a closer look, watch the film, just to make sure that my eyes aren't deceiving me, that he didn't try to pull the wool over my eyes at the combine. And this isn't the same guy on tape. And what he did at the combine was he cemented himself as a top 10 pick. And I went back and watched the tape, and everything was confirmed. He's the total package at the receiver position. He's a height, weight, speed specimen. This guy brings something to the table, and I talked about this when I talked about the pick for the Carolina Panthers with Kelvin Benjamin, and that he brings something to the table that you can't teach. Either you have it or you don't, and that's height. He's a big, long, rangy receiver, runs a lot better than people give him credit for. Again, he's got a veteran game right now, because sometimes he'll pull you to get open, he'll push you to get open. He does a lot of tricky, crafty things to get open that may or may not be called at the next level. We'll see. Again, normally if you're crafty with it, you're not egregious with your movements. Long as you don't extend, you can get away with a little push here and there. You can tug a jersey to pull a guy out of the way to give you a little bit more separation. And Mike Evans does all of these things, but fact of the matter is he doesn't have to. He's 6'5". If he just uses his frame and post up, box you out, you can't do anything about it because he's such a big target. The thing that I would like to see him do a little bit better, and I think Calvin Benjamin does this better than anyone in this draft, is high point to football. Mike Evans, you don't see him go up and make a lot of big plays away from his frame that often. He can do it, but it's not something that you see from him as much. So I'd like to see that more. We see Vincent Jackson go up high point to football all the time. And if he's going to be mentored by Vincent Jackson, that's something he's going to have to add to his game to help this Buccaneers team in his rookie season, because I think his greatest value is going to be in the red zone, on third downs, when you're looking to move the sticks, move the chains, pick up first downs, 3rd and 7. He's going to run a 9-yard route on a comeback on the sideline, and he does a great job of getting his feet down inbounds while catching the football. I want to see him high point the football. Another thing that he's got to clean up, and there's not many, he's got to stop double catching the football. You'll see this from Mike Evans from time to time where he doesn't catch the football cleanly. He'll double catch it. He'll corral it eventually. But again, I say this all the time with guys that have trouble catching it the first time around. You don't get opportunities in this league to catch it 2 and 3 times normally. The coverage is so tight in this league that you get one shot. Do not miss your chance to go, because opportunity knocks once in a lifetime. Go. You got to catch it the first time. So if you're Mike Evans, got to catch the football the first time around. We saw that at the pro day of Johnny Manziel and Mike Evans at Texas A&M. Or excuse me, it was Johnny Manziel's pro day, actually. He came to support and was one of the receivers there. But Johnny threw the deep ball. He caught it on the sideline, bobbled it, and then corralled it. You'll get that from Mike Evans. So he just needs to catch the football the first time. And sometimes you'll get concentration drops out of this guy. Again, with these bigger receivers, they're looking up the field. They want to see what's coming their way. They want to see if they can make a play, break a tackle. But again, I say this all the time. You can't ball without the ball. So catch the football, Michael. Catch the football. And then make it happen there afterwards. So he's got everything you're looking for. I think he could use a little bit more effort when blocking. But again, I'm nitpicking here. He's solid enough when he blocks. He stays on guys long enough to get that receiver or that running back by him. And that's all you're asking for, really, from your receiver. And so, to me, Mike Evans is going to give this Buccaneers team something that most teams do not have. 98% of the league doesn't have 2 6'5" receivers on the field at the same time that equally scares you. And that's what the Buccaneers are going to have. And I'm anxious to see how they're able to use these guys in unison, because I think Josh McCown was at his best last year in Chicago because of the height of the receivers. And I think that's the thinking Lovie Smith was using in the thought process behind going out and getting all of this height. In Chicago last year, Martellus Bennett is a 6'4", 6'5" guy. You got Alshon Jeffrey, never trust a man with 2 first names. He's 6'3" and some change. Brandon Marshall is a legit 6'4", and those guys were huge targets, and Josh McCown did a wonderful job of giving them an opportunity to make plays on the football with their height. And I think that is the game plan and the strategy of these first 2 selections in this draft, adding them to what they already have in Vincent Jackson. And so this is a phenomenal pick by the Buccaneers. They just got better as an offense in a division where defense is pretty tough, but offense is where it's at. You got to be able to put points on the board, and what Mike Evans brings to the table is another huge target in the red zone that you're going to have to contend with to keep this Buccaneers offense from putting 7s on the board. It's going to be tough. When they get inside the 20, when they get inside the 10, fades and slants and back shoulder fades are going to be the norm, and it's going to be tough on teams to stop Vincent Jackson, Mike Evans, and the next draft pick from getting their hands on the football in the red zone. First round, 7th overall selection, wide receiver out of Texas A&M, Mike Evans, is a home run. You can put it on the board. Yes, it's a home run. The first round, Buccaneers strike first with a long ball in the form of Mike Evans, wide receiver out of Texas A&M. It's a perfect fit for this offense. Your quarterback loves throwing to big targets. This team is ready to take the next step, but offensively, they've got to catch up to what the defense is doing, and a guy like Mike Evans is going to help you expedite that process. Here's a guy that is going to be hard to cover one-on-one outside the numbers, and in the red zone, he's going to be a handful to deal with. That's a great pick for the Buccaneers. You go to the second round, 38th overall selection, tight end out of Washington, Austin Seferian Jenkins, a.k.a. ASJ. And look, who's calling him Austin Seferian Jenkins all the time? Go ahead, shorten that up. ASJ is the name. Don't forget it. Here's another huge 6'6", 6'7", 6'5" target in ASJ. And the Buccaneers went overkill here. And I like it. I like it a lot. This is the thing about this division that they're in. And I feel like that's what you have to do. In order to be a really good team, you got to do three things. You have to draft, first of all, to your team and your needs. So you have to find out and identify what players have the makeup of fill in the blank. In this case, what players have the makeup of a Tampa Bay Buccaneer. You're changing your identity because of a new head coach, new general manager. So the identity of what a Buccaneers receiver or offensive player has changed. Doesn't matter. You figure out what it is and you start drafting guys to fit that mold. So I see Mike Evans in the first round. You already have Vincent Jackson. You add ASJ. And now I see what you're doing on the offensive side of football. They call it basketball on grass. Sign me up. 6'5", 6'5", 6'6". In the red zone. Good luck trying to stop it. So what Austin Seferian Jenkins brings to the table is a big physical target that can run the middle of the field, can split out as a wide receiver, and can do his damage over the middle of the field. You know the success that the Falcons have had of late because of what they had on the outsides and those big targets and Roddy White and Julio Jones. And then you take your attention to them and Tony Gonzalez beats you over the middle of the field. You put your attention on him, the guys on the outside get you. You got to choose your poison. That's basically what the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are trying to do to you now. You put your attention on those big 6'5" targets on the outside. And guess what? Austin Seferian Jenkins is going to be allowed to do work in the middle of the field. And he's a huge target. So if you've got a linebacker in coverage, and he's got perfect coverage. I mean, you can't be in better position. But he's only 6'1". And Josh McCown throws it up high. What is he going to do? There's nothing you can do. As a Redskins fan, I saw London Fletcher time and time again have perfect coverage. But because he was 5'11", 5'10", 5'9", and the tight end was 6'4", 6'5", London would stick his arm up there. It'd be right there. The ball would be right here. And it was a catch. And it'd be perfect coverage. Not much more he could do. But because he wasn't big enough, he couldn't do anything. And that's what ASJ is going to bring to the table. He's going to win mismatches with safeties, with linebackers consistently. In the red zone, it's going to be a nightmare to try to stop these three targets from catching the football. Not to mention, you've already got a guy in Tim Wright that was ultra impressive last season at the tight end position. You've got two tight ends that are scary. You've got two receivers that are scary. This is going to be a tough offensive attack to stop if you can protect up front and if Josh McCown looks anything like the quarterback we saw a season ago. And so Austin Seferian Jenkins, to me, brings so much to the table because of his size. Now, he's not a burner. He's a big guy, not going to beat you necessarily with speed, but he doesn't have to. He's huge. He's 6'6", he's 6'7". So he doesn't have to beat you with speed. He just beats you with his body positioning. Put his body in front of you. What are you going to do? Now, something he needs to work on is his blocking. I don't like his blocking that much. I think that's one of those areas for room for improvement. He needs to get better and more stout at the point of attack as a blocker. There were too many times I saw this guy blown back in pass pro into the lap of the quarterback. There were too many times that I saw him on running plays not get his man and allow his man to get in on the tackle or actually make the tackle itself. And so I want to see him be more physical as a blocker. We know how these tight ends are, and we know how this goes. The saying in the NFL has been and continues to be, the next great blocking tight end will be the first great blocking tight end. And Austin Seferian-Jenkins is no different. He needs to learn how to block better. And I think that the value you get here with this guy is he can do the Y thing, line up in the traditional Y tight end formation, tight to the line, run up the seam, make a play there. He can split out and give you that Jimmy Graham look. You know that all too well in that division, what Jimmy Graham brings to the table and how he poses fits and mismatches for the defense. He can also split out wide and do that. And then in the red zone, he's a nightmare to handle. He's going to be a nightmare to deal with. And so you add him to the mix with Mike Evans and Vincent Jackson and Tim Wright. It's going to be a tough tandem, duo, triplet, quadruplet to stop if you are a team in the NFC South. In the second round, 38th overall selection, tight end out of Washington, ASJ for me is another home run. It's back-to-back jacks. You can put it on the board. Yeah. It's a home run. In the second round, tight end out of Washington, ASJ is a nightmare for opposing defenses in that division. And this is overkill. You didn't have to go here. Okay, you had Tim Wright. But what beats size, especially in the red zone? When you want to score points, you put size on the field, you throw the back shoulder fade, you throw the regular fade, you throw the slant, you throw any type of pass you can imagine. These guys are going to win 9 times out of 10 because of their height, because of their size. And so those 2 first picks tell me exactly what the Buccaneers are looking to do. They're looking to run the football, and we'll talk about that with the next pick. They're looking to be explosive on offense, big plays, be able to throw the football up, jump ball style, and have receivers come down with it. And they're looking to cash in with 7s when they get in the red zone. 7 is always better than 3. You know the motto. I don't say it a lot in the offseason because there's no reason to, but I'll drop this little nugget on you now. You're going to hear it a lot during the season. Touchdowns win games, okay? The motto is field goals don't win games. Touchdowns do. So, you know how it goes. You get in the red zone. You get to the 7-yard line, first and goal from the 7. Nobody wants to kick a field goal. The worst field goal is a 22-yard field goal. The worst field goal is a 25-yard field goal. That means you made it all the way down inside the 5-yard line, inside the 10, and you couldn't cash it in. So, with those targets, you're going to find it a lot harder to stop this Buccaneers offense from getting in the end zone. You go to the 3rd round, 69th overall selection, running back out of West Virginia, Charles Sims. Here's the guy that started his collegiate career at the University of Houston, played alongside a guy in Case Keenum at Houston. They were running up and down the field, throwing the football all over the place. And so I think what Charles Sims did there was he did 2 things. He learned how to block in the passing game, because in order to be on the field for Houston at that time, you had to be able to pass block. And he learned how to catch the football well. If he didn't know how to catch it before he got there, he learned while he was there, and he became one of the most prolific pass-catching backs in all of college football during his time in Houston. He graduates early, decides he wants to finish out his collegiate career elsewhere. Houston puts a few restrictions on him. Hey, you can't go there, you can't go here, no team in our conference, no team in Texas. So his options were basically, I either go to Cal or I go to West Virginia. He ends up choosing West Virginia, plays 1 year in 2013 at West Virginia. And the one thing he didn't do at Houston was get a ton of carries. They were more of a pass-happy offense. They were in the spread, shotgun, pistol look. So everything was normally going through the hands of the quarterback. So he didn't get a lot of touches on the ground. That changed when he went to West Virginia. They ran the football and they ran it a ton. And so he got to show his ability to carry the load as a running back, running the football out of the backfield. And he still was able to mix in his ability to catch the football, which the scouts love, his versatility. The first thing you notice about this guy is how fluid of an athlete he is. When he runs very quickly, and there's no wasted motion, no choppy steps, no indecision, no indecisiveness. He hits the hole, sticks his foot in the ground, and goes much faster than slow. He can cut without losing stride. So there's no need to stop and break down to make a cut. He can cut, he can jump, he can stop on a dime, and just like that, from 0 to 60, get it back to full speed. I was impressed with the agility that he possesses. He made guys miss in tight quarters. He would be boxed into a small space and make two guys miss in an instant and then hit top speed again. So he showed me a lot with his ability to run the football. I already knew he could catch it from his Houston days, so that wasn't a surprise to me. He showed a little bit of the ability to pass pro. I think his pad level is a little too high for my liking when he is blocking, whether it's in the run game or as a pass protector. I'd like to see him get his pad level a little lower, but all in all, this guy is a 3-down back that possesses the ability to be so versatile for you that it's not even funny. Being that you already have a workhorse back in Doug E. Rush, he's going to come in and be a wonderful complement. Now you got 2 3-down backs. What's better than 1 3-down back? 2 3-down backs. That's what you have now, because Charles Sims is going to come in and do everything you're looking for in a backup running back and then some. So again, these are cherry on the top picks, because last year you had like 18 backs and all of them were solid for you. Okay, once Doug Martin went down last year, guys stepped up, you know. And so I look at it like this: you've got a stable of backs, guys that you can trust. Charles Sims is going to come in, leapfrog over all of those guys with the exception of Doug E. Fresh, and he's going to be your number 2 back. You're going to be able to throw it to him out of the backfield. You're going to be able to hand it to him on draws, and he's going to catch screens out of the backfield. He's a little bit more explosive than Doug Martin is, and so he gives you a different element that you lack right now in your backfield, and that's the ability to have a little bit of power, because he's a tough runner, can run in between the tackles, as well as he has speed. So he gives you a balance of both, something that you really don't have. And I know Doug Martin isn't a slouch, but he's not a burner either. Now, if you ask the Oakland Raiders, is Doug Martin a burner, they'll tell you a different story, but Doug Martin is a 4.5 40 type of guy. He's not a 4.4 40 guy. Charles Sims, even though it's barely, he's a 4.49 40 guy, so he's a sub 540 guy. He can run, he can move, he's got agility, he can make guys miss. Sometimes he goes down a little easier than I think he should, but again, when you move as well as he does, sometimes you'll get tripped up and tackled by the turf monster. It happens. But in the 3rd round, 69th overall selection, running back out of West Virginia, Charles Sims for me is a triple. This is a really good pickup by the Buccaneers, going to give them a great complement to what they already have in the backfield, a nice little 1-2 punch. And I'm hearing that your offensive coordinator thinks he wants to go running back by committee. He wants to switch it up a little bit, doesn't want to put the entire load on Doug Martin like they did in 2012 when he was a rookie. So it'll be interesting to see how they decide to divvy up these carries and who is the definitive workhorse back, if in fact there is one. We'll see what they decide to do at the running back position, but he's going to be a welcome addition to this football team. And I'll tell you what, the only thing he's going to have to work on now is footwork and depth, because he strictly worked from the shotgun. He got handoffs out of the pistol, out of the shotgun look. At Houston, that was the case. At West Virginia, 85% of his carries came out of the pistol or shotgun look. So he's going to have to work on depth, getting back behind the center and the quarterback, and he's going to work on footwork and all of those things, because it was just him simply standing next to the quarterback and shuffling and then getting the football. So those are some things he'll have to work on. Simple transition, though. Shouldn't be that tough. That's a great pickup for you in the 3rd round. You move on to the 5th round, 143rd overall selection, offensive guard out of Tennessee State, Kadeem Edwards. Look, Kadeem Edwards is a guy that is extremely raw. At about 6'4", 315, 20, 25 pounds. He's a big man with a lot of raw ability. When you watch him, you see a lot of things that you like. I know I did. I liked a lot of what I saw. Now, the level of competition, not what you would like. What's my one rule of thumb? What's my one prerequisite? If you've been watching, you know what the one prerequisite is for a guy that goes to a small school. Look, I don't care about the competition. Dominate, okay? If you go to a small school and you want to make it to the NFL, do one thing. Dominate the competition. If you're that much better than everyone else in your conference, prove it. Dominate. And Kadeem Edwards did that. I saw this guy blowing guys up with a strong punch initially that was moving guys out of the way. I saw a lot of guys going down to the ground and him pancaking them, pouring a little bit of syrup on top. I saw a lot of guys being pushed 5 and 6 yards off the ball. Now, look, some of these guys look like high schoolers. You know, these small, 6'1", 216-pound defensive linemen. Of course, I'm exaggerating, but you get my drift. These guys that are not big-time powerhouses along the defensive line that he's able to manhandle. So sometimes you got to take it with a grain of salt. But again, if they put a dummy in front of you, jack him up. Jack him up. Move him out of the way. I don't want to see you struggling with a 6'2", 265-pound defensive lineman. If they put a clown in front of you, move him out of the way. And that's what he was doing. So I don't have a problem with that. He's a bit raw. And so he's got some things to clean up. Some footwork issues. Sometimes he can get beat to the inside because his footwork isn't as clean as you would like it to be. And he's got to learn how to seal off the inside. But I was pleased with what I saw. He's not ready to go right now, but all of the physical gifts that you're looking for, long arms, got long vines for limbs. So he's a big guy, can move well for his size. I think he's strong at the point of attack. So, and he's nasty. He's got a nasty disposition about him that just says, I'm physical, I'm better than you, and I'm going to prove it. And he's got that extra at the end of a play. Plays over, he's still blocking, he's still being physical, he's being nasty. I like that temperament, okay? So there's a lot to work with here. I think that if he's coached up properly, in a year or two, he could be a starting guard for you, and you'll be pleased with what you're getting on the field. He was a left guard, and I think that's the position that he could play at this next level. If he's coached up properly, there's a lot here to like. And even though he went to a small school, I think that all the intangibles are here for this guy to really mature into something that is a really good player for this Tampa Bay Buccaneers football team. In the 5th round, 143rd overall selection, offensive guard out of Tennessee State, Kadeem Edwards, for me, is a double. I like the potential that this guy possesses. I like the ability. I think he has to be coached up. I do not think he's ready to rock and roll right now, but I believe with the proper coaching, this guy could be a starter for you as soon as late rookie season. I mean, depending on how well he takes to the coaching, and if his situation is dire, if the Buccaneers have a rash of injuries or they're not getting the production out of their guard position, he might be thrusted into the action. And if he's taken to the coaching well and they're pleased with what they see on the practice field, I can see him playing this year. However, I would much rather like to see him not play all year this year and be ready to go next year. That's what I would truly like to see, is him get a redshirt year to learn, to practice, to go up against NFL talent because he hasn't done so, and have him consistently go up against guys in practice, learn the speed of the game and what it's going to take for him to be an effective guard, and then stick him in there after he's learned and made the transition from small school standout to NFL pro. So you move on to your second fifth-round selection, 149th overall pick, offensive tackle out of Purdue, Kevin Panfile. And Kevin Panfile for me is a guy that I watched the tape. The first thing that I saw, I said, damn, this guy's fast. When you see offensive linemen running, it doesn't take much for you to notice that a guy's fast. And the first thing, the very first play, this guy's pulling. And he comes around the corner and he is hauling ass. I said, whoa, that man is running. Now, he didn't block anybody. He didn't block anybody. And you know, that annoys me. Don't go out and be one of these guys looking around for somebody to block. Go get somebody, man. Go fall on somebody. Do something. But he was running fast. He ran fast to nowhere, but he was running fast. So I can appreciate that. So that got me excited. And then after that, it went all downhill from there. It went all downhill from there. He was consistently beat inside. I mean, look, the game that I watched was Purdue against Ohio State. I mean, it couldn't have been a worse game. This team looked pathetic. I think they lost the game like 56-0. They were dropping passes. The quarterback was harassed all game long. Kevin Panfile was a part of the abuse that the quarterback was taking because he wasn't containing his man in front of him all game long. And I've never seen a guy beat to the inside more consistently than I saw from Kevin Panfile. I mean, literally, on average, every 3 to 4 snaps, he was getting beat to the inside. And I don't know if the coaching staff of Ohio State, they were instructing their guys to start taking heavy rushes to the inside, but they were working all day long. He wasn't cutting off. And the worst thing about him was he wasn't good in the run or the pass game. I mean, at least you could hang your hat on something normally. All right, so I'm struggling in the run game today, but I'm going to make sure I keep my quarterback clean. He wasn't doing either one of them. And even the runs away from him weren't effective. I mean, they couldn't run to his side because he was getting blown up. And when they would run away from him, he was getting beat to the inside. Look, all I'm asking you to do, if I'm running away from you, is to seal off the backside, man. I'm not asking for you to get up the field. I'm not asking for you to do anything extraordinary. Seal off the backside, man. I shouldn't have to worry about the left defensive end or the right defensive end. He's a left tackle. I shouldn't have to worry about the right defensive end coming all the way across the formation to the left side of the field and making a tackle, man. Do your job. Seal off the backside. He wasn't quick enough. Guys were flashing in front of his face, beating him to the inside, and going down the line and making tackles. Not getting into play. They were making a tackle. That's frustrating. So Kevin Panfile for me is a guy that is highly athletic. Okay, the athleticism is there. He ran a sub 540 at his pro day. Had a lot of good measurables. 3-cone, short shuttle, all impressive times. He's athletic. I get it. He's got to work on his technique. He's got to be better. He's a guy that he doesn't finish to the play. He doesn't finish to the whistle. So the play's still going on. He lets his guy go. His guy gets in on the tackle. Like, wait a minute, dude. Okay, you're already not mean. He's not a mean guy. He's a nice guy. He's a nice guy. You know, he's not pushing anybody around. He's not being overly physical, overly aggressive with anybody. He's a nice guy. He's letting guys go before the play is over, before the whistle is blown. They're getting into the play. He's just one of these guys that wants a juice box and a certificate and a trophy for participating. I don't like those guys. I need you to be mean. I need you to be aggressive. I need you to find a way to use that athleticism to your advantage. And I just don't see it with Kevin Pamphile. In the 5th round, 149th overall selection, offensive tackle out of Purdue. Kevin Pamphile, for me, is a big, fat single. You saw where that one was going. You knew where that one was going. And so there's a lot of work there to be done. I don't see this guy helping you anytime soon, if at all. Not impressed with what I saw with him. In fact, I was depressed with what I saw. And I said, this guy can't play like this at the next level and expect to make this Tampa Bay Buccaneers roster. You look at the 6th round, final pick in the draft for the Buccaneers, 185th overall selection, wide receiver out of Wyoming, Robert Huron. And Robert Huron is a guy that you look at him, and it doesn't seem like much. Not a big guy, about 5'10", a $190, $195. He's not an overly big guy, doesn't seem flashy, but he gets the job done. And at Wyoming, they spread the football around, but he was the best of the group. And the thing that impressed me the most was he'll break a tackle and he'll run down the sideline. He'll catch you in a route, give you a couple of moves, beat you off the line of scrimmage, run by you and catch the football. He does all of the little things. He'll catch the football in traffic. He'll run the routes precisely, get open, catch the football. He does all of the little things correctly. Won't wow you with anything. Doesn't have game-breaking speed nor ability, but he does everything well. And I think he'll complement what you already have at the receiver position. To be honest with you, I think this is the perfect complement. You don't want all your guys to be 6'5", okay? You don't want everybody out there running around 6'4", 6'5". I know Tim Wright is a guy that's about 6'1", 6'2", but he's going to be a really good complement to this receiving core. I think he's going to come in, be a guy that you can stick in the slot. He's got experience working outside the numbers as well, so he can give you that versatility to go outside, slide inside to the slot. And I think that's where his home is going to be in this league, is in the slot. And I think you'll be very pleased with what you get. He's got great lateral quickness, can get to the football, strong hands, catches the football. Look, I've heard that he'll drop the football sometimes. I didn't see it. I didn't see what they saw. I saw a guy with strong hands that caught the ball in traffic, made plays. Everything that I saw on tape was pleasing to these eyes. I see a guy that can come in and help you right away. A guy that can come in, be a 3rd or a 4th option on an offense, catch the football, make some things happen. If you sleep on him, he'll make you pay deep. I think there's a lot to like here with Robert Huron, and I'm telling you right now, if he's put in a position to succeed, this guy's going to come in and be a bona fide stud for you in the slot because of all the attention that's going to be paid to those big trees you have on the outside and that big guy you got in the middle now in ASJ. Tim Wright is still a very viable option as a tight end. You slide this guy over to the slot, no one's paying attention to him. He's going to wreak havoc on this division. I like this pick. This is a really good pick to round out your draft. Robert Huron, to me, is a guy that's going to come in, and it wouldn't surprise me if he stays healthy. He takes to this playbook and soaks it up like a sponge. I think that this guy has high football IQ. He's tough as nails, will catch it in traffic, and he'll make guys miss. And he's got enough speed to make you pay if you can't tackle, and if you miss off the line of scrimmage with a jam, he's quick enough off the football and quick enough after he catches it to make you pay. This is a good pickup, one that I like a lot for this football team. In the 6th round, 185th overall selection, wide receiver out of Wyoming, Robert Huron is a double. Great way to finish out the draft for the Buccaneers. I think that that guy is going to do wonders for this Buccaneers offense. And so that's a really solid draft on the part of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You look at Mike Evans. He's a home run, no doubt about that. You get rid of Mike Williams. You replace Mike with Mike. And this time you get a guy that is huge, that's going to make plays for you inside the red zone. He's a guy that won't just get it done for you 20 to 20. Inside the 20 is probably where his value might be its greatest. Then you go 2nd round, Austin Seferian-Jenkins, ASJ. He's a big, tall, physical tight end that can make plays on the football away from his frame. Not going to burn anybody with speed, but doesn't have to. His frame speaks for itself. He's a home run as well, going to help you in the red zone. And again, he can work and improve on his blocking, but what tight end can't? You move on to the third round. Charles Sims is the perfect, quintessential backup running back in this league. Can catch it, can run it, can give you some pass pro. He's a guy that you want touching the football out of space because he can make people miss and get to top speed in a hurry. He's a triple. Kadeem Edwards, small school guard out of Tennessee State, has all the raw ability you're looking for. If you can mold this guy into an NFL caliber football player, tell you what, you've got yourself a starting guard on your hands in about 2 years. You look at Kevin Pamphile out of Purdue. Don't like what I see. An athletic tackle that just isn't ready for elite speed, for elite competition. He's got a lot of work to do if he's going to A, make this roster, and B, be a productive offensive lineman in this league. He's definitely not a left tackle. He's going to have to slide over to right, and he's going to have to be better and more sound in his fundamentals and his technique. Was beat to the inside way too often, not physical enough at the point of attack, not nasty enough in his disposition and his mentality, and he lets guys off the hook way too easy before the whistle is even blown. He's a single. And rounding out the draft, wide receiver out of Wyoming, Robert Huron, is a guy that I love. Love it. Love this pick to round out the draft. You got all these trees around him, and he's going to be the little guy running around, causing havoc in the slot. Good hands, catches it in traffic, and can make you pay deep if you sleep. He's a double to round out the draft. So let's tally up some numbers, shall we? We've got 6 selections. We've got a home run and a home run to start back-to-back jacks. That's 8. Triple is 11. Double is 13. A single is 14. And another double is 16 for this Buccaneers team. No bonuses for the Buccaneers. So you look and we go 16 divided by 6. That is a double, a really solid double, almost a triple, but not quite there. Kevin Pamphile basically did you in terms of getting to a triple. It's a 2.8 double for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the 2014 NFL Draft. To me, this is one of those drafts that, as a football team, you're just looking to add to what you already have. Because of all of the moves you made in free agency, you were just looking to supplement your roster. And that's what the draft is supposed to be for the good teams. Well, you weren't a good team last year, so it's surprising to hear me say that. But I feel like this Buccaneers team, and look, I'm not saying, I'm just saying, this Buccaneers team is one of those teams that didn't make the postseason last year. Would not surprise me if they took a name out and they slid their name in. Now, I'm not putting anybody on notice. Wink, wink, Carolina. I'm not putting anybody on notice, but I'm not saying, I'm just saying, look out for this Tampa Bay Buccaneers team. I like what they did at the top half of this draft. And honestly, 4 out of these 6 picks, I think, can make immediate impacts. Evans, ASJ, Sims, and Huron, to me, are impact players right away. And so I like what they did in this draft, and I think the Buccaneers are onto something. It's a double. But don't be surprised in 2014 if this squad hits a home run. So, if it happens in the National Football League, whether big or small, we cover it all here in the lab room. I thank you for joining me. There's only one question remains. Who's next?
Draft Zone.
Like the content? Want more? Sub up.